Welcome to the 3 Degrees of Freedom podcast, where we explore lifestyle engineering with our expert guests to bring you in alignment with your own 3 degrees of freedom, location, time, and financial independence. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the 3 Degrees of Freedom podcast. Today, we've got Mr. Dan French. He's got nearly 2 decades of experience in real estate, and he's the CEO of a real estate private equity and property management firm that's transacted over $2 billion in assets under management, having overseen a vast portfolio of 15,000 plus apartment units. Amazing. Dan's also a managing partner at Rex, a groundbreaking technology venture poised to disrupt the real estate industry. Not only is Dan a powerhouse in business, but he's also a dedicated family man, married for nearly 11 years and father to 4 wonderful children. His story embodies the pursuit of financial, location, and time freedom. And maybe we have a little bit of things to talk about. Maybe we have, I know in our pre-call, you said that you maybe have a little bit of beef against the way people have been slinging around the buzzword of freedom, right? So let's get into it a little bit, Dan. I just want to talk. Let's start with the basics. First of all, of the 3 degrees of freedom, location, time, and financial, which one do you feel strongest in right now? Or which one do you think is a misnomer, or if all of them are? And which one are you looking to further develop?
Yeah, no, well, first of all, Derek, thank you for having me on. I'm excited with what you're doing with your podcast and hope to add value to your audience today. And hopefully they can find some good nuggets to take away, one or two nuggets of wisdom here. But, yeah, I would say beef is a strong word, but I would just refract or restate the question, like
right,
freedom from versus freedom to, freedom from the drudgery of work or whatever. I would say it's freedom to pursue your mission. I kind of was in preparation for this podcast. I was thinking through what motivates me and how I view the world. And I just went back to the parable of the talents. And this is in the gospel. It's in actually multiple gospels. And what they're trying to convey in this parable, this story, is when someone is given when they're given something, actually they're being asked to produce much more. So if your audience might not know the story, basically someone gets 5 talents, and a talent means a sum of money, a large sum of money. And that person produces 5 more, right? And then the second person has 2 talents and they produce 2. And the first person the third person just buries that talent in the ground. They don't do anything with what they've been given. And so it's taken from that person and it's given to the one who has proven that they can be a good steward and produce a lot more. So to me, it's like the outcome of that is to everyone who has more will be given. So that's how I view the world. Well, if I've been given some opportunities and I've done okay in business and I've got a lot of blessings in my family life, well, great. Now I'm free to do a lot more and give back a lot more. So I hope that helps you better understand the kind of quote unquote beef I have with it. So I don't know if that explains it fully well what's in my head, but that's what I'm trying to get at when I'm saying freedom to do a lot more.
I completely agree with you, man. I just wanted to have a little bit of fun here, and I completely agree. I think we're saying the same thing. Honestly, I think that parable is really powerful, and it also explains the fact that back when I was in the corporate world, it even expanded to the logic in corporate world, which is crazy. But if you wanted something done, give it to the busy person.
Yes,
to the person that knows how to budget and how has a budget time and resources and just get done. Like just make the decisions to get things completed.
Yeah.
I think that's a really powerful concept and something that folds into the 3 degrees of freedom because it is a responsibility. I think freedom, like you said, is something that you don't run from, but you jump into, right? You become a bigger person. And with that bigger person means you can take on bigger problems and serve the world in a bigger way, right?
Exactly, 100%. Thank you, Derek.
Yeah, so
we're refine my thoughts. So
we're saying
I appreciate that. But yeah, basically to answer your question, I think the one that would be top for me would be financial freedom. All my goals would revolve around providing for my family and make sure that they're totally set up and have access to great education and they're stable, right? And they have the ability to live well. And then beyond that, I want to be able to give back to charitable initiatives. And for me, that's part of my mission is to do very well and be free. And that way, anything above that freedom level is something I can give back and return to society broadly.
Of course. Yeah, definitely. There's no other people that are well suited enough to give back to society than property management companies. I just have a lot of respect for what you guys do because it's tough. It is a very tough business. And I'm sure that when you started, I'm sure nowadays you have a staff working for you and you've got people in the positions that you need. But in the beginning, you had to wear probably a lot of those hats when you were starting out. And it's a very tough business. So I guess with that backdrop in mind, and then you've got other companies as well, technology, and then an investment company as well. Let's talk about your journey to financial freedom. Um, can you talk a little bit about how real estate's kind of unlocked that for you? Like maybe was there a time in your life where you didn't realize that real estate was going to help you, or has it always just been in your blood, for instance? Or tell us a little bit about how you got into
Yeah.
real estate.
Well, thank you. It's a broad thing, and I don't want to, take up too much time in this unless you want to. But basically, it does revolve a lot of my business history does revolve around real estate. So, but maybe for the benefit of your audience, how I got started was in 2005. I started investing in real estate, small deals that are 4 unit type of buildings, and just I felt like it was a way to generate future wealth. And at that time, I was very driven to be into public service, and that was a separate career that I had. So I always felt like real estate could unlock a lot of wealth, future wealth creation. I knew I had to delay the marshmallow, so to speak, right? It's like anyone that thinks there's a get rich quick scheme out there is probably doing something that's either way too risky or just not really fully ethical. In my opinion, there's very few things that just pop overnight. So I knew I had to delay the marshmallows, but I wanted to get started. So in '05, with my business partner, Pete Rex, and his brother, just going after being entrepreneurial and taking risk. And that was something I think is very broad and durable across many people. I've traveled a little bit around the world, and this is people around the world always know that there's something about real estate. If I can just own it and just be a part of this thing, especially in a place like the US, that's always basically, I believe, decade after decade, we'll go through recessions, but we'll always be up and to the right.
Yeah.
So,
It's
that, yeah, go ahead, Derek.
no, I'm sorry, man. I was just going to say that real estate is one of the most durable asset classes in the
For
fact
sure.
that you can hold on and just wait. As long as you can
Yeah.
keep what you've purchased, usually the market is pretty forgivable
Mhm.
because the population in the United States is increasing. It is a little bit different, and I'd like your opinion on this in the tech industry, or if you buy like a franchise or try to do a business on your own, where you start to see sales drop and you don't know what the problem is. That's a big problem to have if you don't know why your sales are dropping. But if that starts happening because of outside forces, you got to figure it out. But in real estate, I've always found that it is very forgivable. It's competitive because there's a lot of people in the space and they know that it's forgivable, right? But it's one of those spaces that you just have to make a decision for yourself. Are you willing to
Right.
jump into this for the long haul, right? To mitigate your risk? Or are you looking for something that's maybe a little bit more higher on the risk tolerance profile?
Yeah, no, let me unpack some of that. I think maybe you're smarter than I was when I was young, for sure. Probably still smarter than me, but
Can't say that.
but no, it depends really what kind of market are you betting on. If you're betting on Texas or Florida, that they're going to have long-term, population and job growth, I think yes, totally up and to the right. It's going to be less risky than betting on a single company. If you
Yeah.
look at the growth of cities or the growth of real estate, maybe taking out office right now, but definitely look at multifamily or housing,
Yeah.
so durable, so predictable. Again, it's going to be choppy, but it's going to go up and to the right. But whereas if you look at the S&P 500, what is the staying power of a company on that list?
Right.
It treads, and the lifetime of a company is, it's going to be, even the ones that survive and make it that far is still very competitive. And there's going to be companies that fade out of that. Whereas if you're in real estate, you choose a really good location, I think you're very downside protected. You have to choose a good operator as well.
Correct. Yeah. You just have more opportunities to hit a target rich environment. And even if you do make a mistake, if you hold on to the property, most likely it's going to work out in the end. It may be a very long hold, depending on the number of mistakes that you make, but most likely it will work out for you. So that's one of the reasons why I love it. But you're right. I've seen a statistic out there. I can't remember where it was, but I think it's something crazy. Like 1 in 10 businesses succeed past 3 years or something.
Mhm.
And then another 1 in 10 of those companies make it to 5 or 6 years, which is crazy.
Right.
And so it just makes me wonder in real estate, I can see why it's a tough industry, especially right now when times are tough. But there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. There's always something that you can do. It's a durable asset. It's tangible. There's things you can do with it. And so that's why I love the asset class. And clearly you do as well, because you're involved in them with all of your businesses, which is great.
For sure. And I would just say one more caveat is it's such a debt laden asset.
Yeah.
It really is as a financial asset, and very, very much goes up and down with the debt markets. So you have to be very careful. And we're seeing that now. A lot of owners that maybe had floating rate debt and they're in trouble because the interest rates have risen so dramatically. That's, or they took too much leverage, right? So those are ways where you could really mess up in real estate. So you have to keep that downside protection is super important.
Love it. So I want to change gears here real quick before we hop into the entrepreneurial side of real estate. I wanted to ask you, you're clearly very busy. You have 3 companies, you've got property management, you have acquisitions, and then you have technology, right? All happening in your world right now. And you've also got 4 kids and a wife and lots of stuff going on. How in the heck are you able to balance all of this in your personal life? What does your day look like?
Oh man, it's every day is a little bit different. First of all, I would say I do want to give credit to not hiring, but marrying the right person.
Yes.
That is one of the most critical things you could ever do. It's the most important contract you'll ever sign in your life. And I hit a grand slam home run with that one. My wife is Melissa, and she's great. She just really frees me up to do what I love. Like, for me, freedom is chasing a mission and being purpose driven. And that's when I'm on a mission to do a lot of good in the world, but through business right now, and to elevate humanity through our business. So having a rock at home is so important. So that's number one.
Yeah.
Within business world, though, I would say hiring A players and A performers, that's like number one within business. Every time that you don't do it, you never want to have a C player around, but even when you have a B player, things just don't happen on the pace at which you want, right? You can never truly free up because you have to always dive in and be like very weedy and just get into the mix with them. We have a true A player. They actually don't want you in the weeds with them. They're like, actually, I got it. Leave me alone. Just set me up with good goals, good compensation. Tell me what to do, and then check in with me. And I'll tell you how great I'm doing. And you just tap dance to work when you get those folks. And so the more you can have and build that kind of like that A team, the championship team, it's a beautiful thing.
Let's double click into this a little bit more, because you mentioned that one of your superpowers is the ability to execute and lead teams.
Mm-hmm.
These are crucial things for anyone that's looking to build a business to help create some degree of freedom in their life, whether it's location, time, or financial, right?
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about how you develop the superpower of execution? And I also want to talk about teams and team building and ask you for how to do that, because this is selfishly something that I'm working on as well. And so I want to tap into your wisdom to help me build a powerhouse team just like you have. So let's start with where you got the ability to execute from, and then move over to teams after that.
Yeah, I think first of all, when you're good at something and you tend to have passion around it, and that passion is, I think, speaking to your soul or something in the way you're built, like God-given talents, right? So when I'm in my zone of kind of excellence, I just feel better. I feel like, boom, this is what I'm made to do. And I can achieve more. I can be in the flow zone more. So I think everyone out there needs to really understand maybe execution is not for you. You don't like that day-to-day repetition. You want to be a visionary. Okay, well, not everyone can be a visionary either. So for me, I'm partnered with this guy named Pete Rex, 18 years in business. He is a master visionary. He can, sometimes be out there in 30 years into the future. But I thrive more on the follow-up, leading the teams, the day-to-day push. Every day is a push to get things done. So what I would say is, number one, you got to find out what is through your passions, really be in tune with that, and then find out what you think you're going to be good at based on the passions. And then once you're good at it, take on a lot more than you think you're ready for. That's my key advice. As I've always done that in my career, even my early career before business, but I mentioned public service. I was someone who was just getting involved early. I ran for office early as a young person. I just always took on more and wanted to do things. Whenever people told me I was too young for something, that would kind of jazz me up. That would light me up to just go do it and prove people wrong. And hopefully not in a narcissistic way, but just in a way like, all right, you know what? Life is short. I want to just go achieve. I want to do things and I want to build these leadership muscles. So you can't build it unless you're trying. You got to put yourself out there. So I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, no, that's really great. Wonderful insights there in terms of building, because it's funny. A lot of people are scared to think about stretch goals because there's an ingrained fear of failure, right? But I have a feeling that you, in learning through business and through entrepreneurship and doing stuff with your own properties, that you did fail quite a bit. Everyone does, because you
Mhm.
can't be perfect. What is your relationship with failure? Or how do you view setbacks, right? Yeah, just want to talk about that in terms of execution, in the frame of execution before we move on to teams.
Oh man, my relationship with failure, I don't know. It's always stalking me. And it's a like an ex-girlfriend that won't go away, I guess. I don't know. No, like failure is just part of being in business, or actually really just doing anything that's trying to push things forward. You're gonna have failure. So I think we have to, what we call it, an Invictus mentality. And Invictus means unconquerable. You might be defeated in a battle, but you're never going to lose the ultimate war. You're always going to keep after it. You might get depressed briefly, but then the next day you have to wake up optimistic. You have to wake up like, all right, cool. You know what? I need to learn from that mistake. Hopefully never make that version of the mistake again, and just keep going. Be Invictus, always rising up and always thinking ahead, and just be prepared, because yeah, everyone's going to fail.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think so. I think that when you make mistakes, it's like stepstones to success, because when you are going through the process, that's the true success to me, in my mind, right? As you're
right,
executing, you're making these failures. People always misconstrue results with success. And while that's true, that's more of an outcome.
right,
I see that you show up to your property management company, you're leading people, you're doing good in the world, and then you come home and add value to your family. That's success, man. Like, it's never a destination. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm successful," and then you end up eating Cheetos and sitting on the couch all day because you're successful and that's it, right? It's an
right.
ongoing process. And so that's why I love execution is like a long-term game, and so is stepping stones, these temporary failures, right? Along the way as you execute.
Totally.
So
Yes.
I just saw that in you, because I know it seems like you're not afraid of messing up. And I think that's a key component of execution, along with what you said is like stretch goals. And, when people set stretch goals, that's going to be their main complaint to themselves is, I'm going to fail. But
Mhm.
sometimes you just got to do that to push yourself, right?
No, totally. You have to have really strong partners too, I would say,
Ah, mhm.
within business, because, and these are hard conversations, making sure that we have the humility to face whatever was our portion of that failure. We have to face it. And it's really difficult. It's very easy to get defensive. It's very easy to blame external events or circumstances and not take personal ownership. And I'm guilty of this, right? And I don't sometimes want to take ownership, but if you have a good partner that really challenges you and you have to challenge them, you can really stare it in the face, and then you can get a lot better. But if you never do that, never have that humility, yeah, you're just going to repeat and you're doomed. You're in a loop, you know?
Yeah, completely. This is a perfect transition to start talking about teams.
Mhm.
Partners are team members, but I guess, yeah, they are. They're team members. But then you also have people that report to you, and then
Yeah.
the relationships that go with all of that. I want to talk with you about how you've been able to lead teams so successfully. You have a visionary, you're probably the integrator in some of your businesses, right?
Mhm.
And you have the visionary that's you're working together with to help set these amazing goals and work together to solve problems. What is different about your ability to select and lead teams? Or what is your process if you're looking to hire someone?
Yeah, that we can talk about this one for a long time as well. But team leadership is a lot of things. I think one thing I want to make sure I mention is that, yeah, I recommend you get to know people on a personal level as well. You have to really understand their strengths and weaknesses, both inside of work, definitely within work. You want to understand their strengths and play to their strengths. It's like what Drucker says, famous business guru he wrote a long time ago, but you should go back and read him. Peter Drucker says you have to make the strengths as productive as possible for every team member. And so that's critically important. You have to know who's doing what and what they're truly good at, and then play them there. But then even on like an interpersonal level, what makes them tick? What are they motivated by? Hopefully it's by the mission, but some people have financial goals that they want to hit. So helping them grow personally and achieve their next career, their step in the career, that is critical, because by doing that, you're serving them. You're becoming that servant leader. You're like, all right, cool. I understand what you want, where you want to go. This is where the business needs to go. This is how it's good for both. So that's, I don't know, it's a holistic thing about leading teams, but that it starts with really getting to know your team and then mapping out who's doing what and giving them very clear roles, responsibilities, expectations, talk to them about career progression, and then make sure you set their comp. Setting comp, because if it's a mysterious comp, like a lottery ticket atmosphere, no one knows how they're going to get paid and do well. That's terrible.
Yeah, it's not good for culture, right? If you don't know how you're going to get paid.
Exactly.
Yeah, great points here. What are the common touch points that you have with your employees? Or do you guys review KPIs, or what does the communication look like when you're talking with your team and leading them?
Man, we've explored every single management thing, but what I found is that the power of the calendar, if that makes sense, just if something's really important, then I might just temporarily set a meeting on it every single day.
Okay.
Every day we're doing it. We're having a huddle. Where's the progress? What's going on? How's it going? Why is this not done? Get to know people on a personal level, but remember that you're the plus one.
Yeah.
As a team lead. So you can't be too familiar, right? You have to maintain that kind of that edge where, we have expectations here and they're very high, and we have to meet them. And I'm going to call you out if we haven't met them. Hopefully I do it in a loving way, but I'm going to call you out. So I think it could be different based on what we're doing. If it's a longer range plan, I'm probably not going to meet every day, right? I don't want to just have death by meeting. I want to have my meetings be very effective and get people's attention. And then we always have documents that have short-term goals, long-term goals, and some execution stuff in between. Those are very critical. I was reflecting on this for the podcast, but we like to have a written culture here, where it's, because so much is lost in verbal. And we got that from Bezos and Amazon, but they have this 6-page thing where they have to write a 6-page memo before, and everyone reads it before a meeting. So not every meeting will we do that, but oftentimes in a bigger meeting, we're going to have a 6-page memo that the person needs to prepare. We all read it quietly, then we discuss. So
Yeah,
go ahead.
That's right. Yeah, no, I saw that. I saw that on, I can't remember where I did, but I saw him talking about it on stage somewhere.
Mhm.
And he said that before every meeting begins, there's a 6-page memo that comes out from the meeting organizer or from the team behind that organization. And everyone gets to the meeting, the memo is handed out, and everyone sits there in silence for 10 minutes reading it for the first inside the meeting. And because it's fresh, he likes to have that flash of insight that people have when they first read things, like the gut instinct, right?
Right.
And then as people start evolving and talking about it, because the idea is new, it's malleable, right? It's easier to come to a consensus because it's new for everyone. So anyway, I thought that is really cool that you guys are starting to adopt that. And I think it's a great takeaway for some people out there who are looking for some techniques and tips to lead teams.
Yeah, totally. And then it's a lot of fun if the memos are well written.
Yeah.
They have to be good. But then it's so much fun because oftentimes you're coming to a meeting and you're checking your phone and your emails, or other people are, and it's no one is paying attention to what's the purpose of the meeting. So if you have a really good start to it, then everyone's on the same page and they're really engaged. Anyway.
Very cool, man. Yeah, thank you for that. So let's switch gears again one more time. I wanted to talk with you about real estate tech.
Mhm.
This is something that I've been fascinated with for many years, ever since I got interested in real estate investing back in 2015, 2016, when we started our portfolio. What is it that your platform does at Rex, and how are you guys looking to disrupt the real estate industry? Because real estate is one of those old guard industries where everything is done because the way it was done was the person before them did it that way.
Right.
Things are starting to change. There's more opportunities coming. There's cryptocurrency where you can buy like fractional pieces of properties, or there's Roofstock now. There's all types of crowdfunding platforms. Technology is enabling all of this stuff. I'm curious what Rex does, whether it's a part of your acquisitions company or your property management company, or maybe even both. So please share with us what you have going on and how you think this technology will start to impact the industry.
Yeah, no, thanks, Derek. It's actually part of neither. So
Okay.
it's its own separate thing, but it's all part of an ecosystem. So maybe I can start by explaining that first. So I think our big idea here is that everything should reinforce and synergize or become a flywheel for the other. So if we look at it like what you mentioned is real estate investment acquisition, and then that's one. Two is property management and operations, construction management. And then three is this technology venture aimed at real estate specifically. So the real estate tech is stuff that we over the years, and we didn't get that much into it, but since 05, we've been operating and owning assets. And in the beginning, very hands-on, like doing every single thing ourselves.
Mhm.
So for about over 10 years, all the pain points baked up. We got so frustrated by a lot of this stuff and the tech that was available that Pete, Rex, and our team wound up launching a venture to disrupt real estate. So inside that single venture is actually 10 subsidiary companies.
Wow.
Again, this is all separate from the property management and real estate investment. But those 10 companies each do something different. A lot of it's focused on actually operations. A lot of them are on the maintenance side and the vendor side, which a lot of people are not building tech for those folks. It's not as sexy. It's a lot sexier to build around the revenue or top line side of the business. But we have a fintech play within there, an insurtech play. We have own prop that's tokenization real estate using blockchain. So it's 10 different things. 7 of them are active and being built currently and being used. So it's a lot to describe here, but that's the idea, is that as the tech gets better, it makes the property management team far more effective. And that's better for owners. So we serve third-party owners. And if the owners have better NOI, a better overall experience of owning their real estate, they're going to tell the other people. And then that team can grow a lot bigger and better. And then for the real estate investment side, they work with the property management team. So as that team gets better, it all should synergize. I hope that helps. There's a lot to explain. That is the ecosystem is the big idea, that it's all going to support one another.
I love it, man. Yeah, I think that there's so much opportunity in this space and so much need, because there are so many middlemen and waste in this industry. I can see it a lot. And when talking with other property managers, like I just see like vendors, like I just know the business well because I've explored this for a little bit, and I have a property manager that's also an investor with us on properties, and we take a look at this together because he's nearing the end of his career. And so he's just kind of showing me all this stuff that's been happening in real estate for many years on the property management side. That's standard practice, at least in the Midwest. And so all I'm going to say about this is that there is plenty of opportunity for smoother processes, easier communication, and being able to remove middlemen where possible, right? I think it's just it's a fantastic thing to help make everyone's lives easier. Love what you guys are doing and want to hear more about it, or people can check it out on the show notes at the end of this episode. All right, so let's switch over to your property management company and your acquisitions company, ATX Acquisitions. So for ResProp, you guys have 11,000 units or something right now, something crazy like that, right?
Yeah.
For 11,000. What insights do you have about the market right now? Like, what type of things are you seeing in the Austin market? Because you're here in Austin with me. What type of things are you seeing at this point in time, and where do you see things heading in the next 18 to 24 months?
Yeah, so the property management team is separate from ATX Acquisitions.
Correct.
By the way, but so the property management team, yes, it handles about 11,000 and growing mostly for third-party owners. And I would say number one, it's a critical time right now because a lot of owners are under a lot of stress. So every single dollar, really in real estate, every single dollar always counts. That's always the case. But when things seem to be going up and interest rates are near zero, there's a lot more room I like what this multifamily thought leader named Jay Parsons has been saying. He's from RealPage,
Mhm.
but he's been in analytics for real estate since '09. Has been talking about it. This is the first time that anyone wants to talk about operational expenses. It's always been top line revenue. It's always been rent growth. It's always been ancillary income. How do you get a little bit more dollars
Yep.
out there? And that's the,
It's
yeah.
more, yeah, just slap on an expense ratio and just work on the income. That's right.
Yeah. So now we have to get much more scrappy, much more disciplined in every dollar on the operating expense side too, because owners can't control as much. They don't have as much room to push rent growth right now because there's a lot of supplies coming online, especially in a place like Austin's had a boom in units that are being delivered. So that puts downward pressure on rents.
Mhm.
And so you have to find a way to make these deals work and to survive. And right now, I think so property management has become even more important. You always have to grow that top line, but now figuring out how to operate more efficiently. And so we're doing things around centralization of tasks. Instead of doing everything on site, we do things in a back office way that should be a lot cheaper, more cost effective, let's say. Same amount of work gets done, but you're doing it in a central way. You're allowing people to specialize so they can become better at their task. So those are some of the things I'm seeing. I think, again, it's a very difficult time to be an owner
Yeah.
of real estate.
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of your owners are actually looking for more visibility and wanting to be a part of the process, right? Like wanting to be a part of the expense discussion and who your vendors are that you're selecting, which is to me, hopefully a good property manager welcomes that, because if they learn to do a better way, then they're managing their own properties as well. And so they may decide to go with a better way to do things. But I'm sure you're seeing that also, right? Like more visibility requests, more reporting, more rigor on the report, on the financials and expense control, right?
Yeah, no, you're totally right. Totally. And I think that's a big growth area for our industry, is to have better, more transparency. If
Yeah.
I'm an owner, I should be able to sit on my couch and just look at things really fast and
A
clean
dashboard.
user experience, user interface, I should say. And yeah, dashboard, I can do it on my phone. I could do it wherever. If I'm in an airport, I'm away to my deal, I want to go check things. That's a big area of opportunity because
Yeah.
people are getting much more involved. They're checking in weekly when it used to be bi-weekly or
Mhm.
monthly, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally get that. All right. Last question that I got for you is advice. Obviously, you've had plenty of success over a long term. You've seen lots of things. If you've been in real estate since, you said 2005, right? So almost 20 years. And you don't look like it, dude. That's all I got to say.
Appreciate
Take
it.
care of yourself.
I feel
Uh,
like it, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, no, that's good. But you've seen a lot, right? You've seen 2008 meltdown. You've seen what we're seeing right now, and you're seeing everything in between. What advice would you give to anyone who is looking to invest in real estate as a means to somehow achieve some degree of freedom, whether it's location, time, or financial freedom? Do you have any advice for them to get started, or any perspective that you can offer them?
I mean, I think number one is just to get started. Does that make sense? A lot of people are just going to think about it for a long time and just I would say get started. So once you commit to getting started, then things will start falling into place. But so first is start with that personal commitment. I will do something that's in my head. I'm going to put it on paper. Then I'm going to go execute. So, but after you do that, I would say you probably need a partner.
Yeah.
Some people do it on their own. I think it's you and your wife for right. But some people do it on their own, but that's rare. A lot of people do want a team. I think we're teaming creatures. So I would say choose your partner really well and make sure that they have ultra integrity. But then when you talked about failure earlier, just realize failure is around the corner.
Yeah.
So it can be how you react to that failure. It's not a matter of like if, it's just a matter of when.
Yeah. And
You know,
how
so
many times?
you're gonna fail in some way. Make sure you mitigate that failure. It's not gonna knock you out permanently, and you're gonna be able to recover from it. But just realize what you think is your worst day, that is coming.
Well said.
Yeah, your hair is gonna feel like it's gonna fall out, and it might actually fall out.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well said.
So
It's
yeah, during the great financial crisis, that I had that experience where I developed like alopecia. I was going crazy because it was so stressful.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah. But
But
I'm
yeah,
glad to see that you went back into it after 2008. And you probably in 2010 were looking at this, maybe with a little bit of shell shock, maybe
mhm,
with concerns, thinking about I should try something else. But I can tell that you kept with it in 2010 and 2010, 2011, 2009. Those are probably the best times to buy ever. And always when you have challenges, I'm confident that there is opportunity on the other side of that.
exactly. Well said.
So I think that you've done a great job exemplifying that and leading teams and being able to execute. All those things just stack on top of each other. And being an integrator like you are and me is a very rare skill and very sought after. So you've deserved all of the success that you've had because it is a tough business. So anyway,
Yeah.
Dan,
Thank
it's awesome having you on the show. We have the last segment of our show, which is the rapid round, and it's 5 questions that we ask every one of our guests. And if you're ready, they're meant to be answered in about 30 seconds or less. And
All right,
if
let's
you're ready
go.
for it, let's rapidly ask them to you. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's do
Number
it.
1, name any resource that was or is essential in your journey to pursuing freedom.
Oh man, I would say the gospel. Reading the Bible every day and making it just part of my life, and just keeping the real goal in mind, which is like pursue, make sure I get to heaven and make sure my family gets to heaven, my friends do. So I don't know. I think that would be the one I go to.
Check. Check. Done.
I don't know if I'm not allowed to say that, but
I know. I'm just in my head. So,
yeah.
number 2, if you woke up and your business was gone and you had $500, a laptop, a place to live, and some food, what would you do first to rebuild?
Wow. I would go back into owning assets, try to find a way to make that $500 and expand it into something that would be like a down payment,
Mhm.
and I own a hard asset,
Awesome.
a real estate investment asset.
Get
Yeah.
back into real estate with your $500 seed. I love it.
Yeah.
Number 3, what does your self reflection and your goal setting practice look like?
I like to do very long term or even ultra long term goals that are very audacious. And then in the short term, it's like milestones. So they're aggressive but achievable.
Yeah.
I
I,
hate when I do the goals or I get wrapped into goals. They're just like, that's just crazy. We can't do that in 3 months. That to me is it demotivates the team and myself.
yeah.
I want to think audaciously about 10 years out or 30 years out. And then 3 months, I want to be able to just push myself really hard, but be able to do it. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
That's awesome, man. I love that. That's how it kind of like coalesces both your team superpower and your execution superpower. Because if
Mhm.
you set large enough goals as a team and you have the ability to work really hard to get there, you're an example for your team in getting to that goal, right? If you believe it, then your team will say, I want to be a part of that. So really cool stuff, man. It kind of went full circle there for me. It just kind of flashed in my head. Love that one. All right. Number 4, what are the core work habits that you attribute most to your success?
Oh man, I would say just grit. Totally just staying super gritty and scrappy and resourceful and relentless. Just being relentless and just being optimistic as well. I would say these things are critical to having sustainability. If you don't have all those things,
Yeah.
you can run hard, but then you just might tap out.
So how do you, this is just a follow-up question to this one.
Yeah.
So how do you exemplify grit? Does it mean showing up when you're tired? Or does it mean keeping a daily routine? Or does it mean staying the extra night, like staying up and not going to sleep to get stuff done? I'm just curious what you mean by the grit in
I think grit. Well, yeah. First of all, I think it is a lot of it's discipline. Like
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Jocko Willink, and he says discipline equals freedom. So grit to me is very much around this discipline idea. So yeah, staying on routines for me, that's super critical. I have to work out. I have to have my faith life. I have to have my family time. I have to have my friends time. I have to have these things kind of together, and then I'm able to pursue the mission. But then grit also means when you fail, just get up. You
Keep
know,
going.
don't whine, and no one's gonna whine. No one's gonna listen to you anyway. So
No one's
My
Yeah,
wife doesn't listen to me, so when I whine, so I don't whine. That's it.
no one's going to want to work with someone who does that. Agreed.
Yes,
All
correct.
right. Last question I have for you for this podcast. What tool or process has become one of the most important time, money, or energy saving ninja magic tricks that you use every day?
Mm, that's a tough one. Yeah, I would probably go back to the written word, just making sure we're not just talking to each other because so much gets lost again in that verbal communication stuff. But yeah, I think I wish I had a different hack,
No, it's all good. If you're saying that you like to write everything down or put stuff down on paper so that there's no like confusion in instruction, I think that's awesome. I think a lot of people could use help with that as well.
Yeah, I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to have our team just write everything just for the sake of writing things or myself do it, but I think that is very important. I would just add the calendar too. I'm very much calendar driven
Sure.
and making sure that there's a concept called like a corporate athlete.
Hmm.
And so you have to know your rhythms. Are you fresh in the morning for creative thinking?
Yep.
All right. So then take your meetings in the afternoon and keep your morning free.
Right.
That
Right.
changes for me over time. So I'm really cognizant of it. And I try to get my calendar to reflect what I'm doing, how I'm most effective during that project or during that time in the business history or personal life or whatever. So I really think about my calendar a lot. I don't know if that's a hack, but
That's great, man. I think
could
that
be.
works. Getting
Yeah.
stuff on calendars, getting it written down, that makes sense to me. So,
Mhm.
Dan, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for coming on. Before we end the show today, why don't you tell people a little bit more about how they can find out about you in general, either ATX Acquisitions or ResProp or Rex, your technology company. Where can people find out more?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm on LinkedIn, Daniel French. You can just probably find in Austin. But yeah, so ResProp is, I would love to talk to any owners that are buying an asset or are considering switching property management, generally 100 units and above in terms of what we'll manage. And that's in Florida, Texas, and the Carolinas. And so we'd love to see if we can maximize your property. We're very owner focused. That's our key customer and we know it. So we have to do a great job for our owners. Residents are obviously critical,
Of
and
course.
we have to really have an amazing living experience for them. But the owners are the key customer of that business. So we'd love to talk to you at ResProp. So respropmanagement.com. ATX Acquisitions is raising a fund right now, going after buying opportunity that we believe is there because of the interest rates and what they've done to create pressure on owners. And that's I would say there's multifamily in there because that's a large part of our background, but we're looking at all kinds of deals. Probably not office. So if you have a deal that you're looking to sell that's not traditional office, anything else we'll look at within Florida, Texas, Carolinas, a couple other states, but those are the main ones. So we'd love to serve you as someone who can buy your asset or as a investment partner if you're looking to invest in real estate. That's atxacquisitions.com. And then rex.com is a really nice overview of the 10 companies that we've launched and are building.
Awesome.
So those are the
Yeah.
three.
That's very cool. And we're going to be linking to those in the show notes. So wherever you guys watch this show, please click the website link and you should be able to get all the information to not only the whole transcript of what we were just talking about on the show, but you can also get the links that Dan provided to us beforehand and also the links to Dan's various companies as well if you want to find out more information. So listeners, thank you so much for listening all the way to the end. It's been a pleasure. And Dan, thank you so much for coming on the show as well. It was awesome to have you on.
It was an amazing experience. And thank you, Derek. That was a lot of fun.
For sure.
Yeah, you,
And
man.
listener, wherever you're listening or watching this, please make sure you thumbs up or subscribe to us because we want to hear from you guys and find out whether or not this content is exactly what you're looking for, or if you want some tweaks or modifications. We're always looking for feedback. We eat it for breakfast, so to speak. And we also want to appease the algorithm god so that we can get more and more exposure to more people out there. And this show is brought to you also by Live Whole Wellness. This is a company set up by my wife and I, and we're looking to help entrepreneurs with their internal and external systems, with their health, and seeing that the stress is a link between the two. We'd like to help build systems for people to take care of their technology systems and automation that helps reduce stress and then taking care of inflammation and health on the inside with nutrition, exercise, and mindset, and much more. Nutrition, epigenetics, everything. So, Dan, thank you once again for coming on the show, and we will see you guys next time. Please reach out and let us know how we're doing. Talk to you guys soon.
Thanks.